Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426 and today we have the review of the Miniforce Rex Kaiser. Yes, Miniforce still does exist and it's in the latest season at the moment, and I believe there has been a little bit of change in terms of like the concept, company that makes the toys and such. So yeah, so the latest season started in Korea. I'm not sure about how other countries are at the moment because I'm not sure if it's actually being properly aired in other countries as well, other than in China. So once again, I will apologize for anything that I'm not too aware about, because it has been years since I've actually bought, a product from a TV show that's meant for kids. Now, well, I mean, technically Gunpla is something like that, but once again, the whole, like, how should I say, the way how the country where people look at the age group that collects certain stuff are slightly different, and this is actually meant for kids. But once again, as someone who grew up with a lot of DX toys and DX robot toys as a kid, this is a huge step up as well. So first of all, the reason why I'm making a lot of videos and probably posting a little bit more than usual is because starting next week, so technically for the next 2 weeks, I have to work on weekends. So I won't have any time to actually make any reviews, so I'm actually making this a little bit in advance. Alright, so once again, for those who don't know, Miniforce is basically like a animated version, well, not animated, like 3D animation version of Power Rangers / Super Sentai, but instead of like humans transforming into these Rangers kind of type characters, there's these small critters like this guy, like a squirrel, a bear, a bird, and a fox that transforms into a humanoid style like Ranger type character, and then they fight evil bad guys, and then they also, depending on the series or concept they have, they will call in for their machines that can transform into robots or combine into a big robot or transform something into entirely different so they could fight them as well. So that is the basic gist of Miniforce as well. So for the past few years, Miniforce did exist, and then their toys have improved a lot, but for now, as far as I know, like the main company and then the company that makes the toys were entirely different. So there will be a different distributor for the animation and then a different company that deals with the toys. But now, at the moment, at least in Korea, the same company is also distributing the animation and also making the toys. And the toy is also designed by a very famous designer, as far as I know. So yeah, well, that's famous within Korea, but I assume he would be pretty famous in certain other countries as well. Alright, so let's see what we got. So this is Rex Kaiser, the main robot or main mech from the series. The way how this works is that usually in the Power Rangers, Super Sentai, or Miniforce, it would usually that they would call in upon their own each individual machine or robot or mech, and then they would combine into one big robot. In this case, that's not the case. In this case, this guy is a sentient being. He actually has, like, he is his own, character as well. So, and then when in trouble, he can transform into this blue big giant dinosaur robot and can combine with this car to become this guy. And then there are also 4 smaller robots up there, which I will be reviewing. They can combine with this guy to become his like upgrade parts as well and become an even bigger robot, if you would say so. Alright, so let's see what we got. So first of all, this is Rex Kaiser. This is Korean, and once again, unless you're living in Korea, I have zero clue and zero idea how you can get this. I live in Korea, I'm Korean, so I got it. So that's just the basic simple story of it. And once again, the box is like huge to the point where I'm going to need to get rid of this eventually. But once again, looking at the box here is the combined form with the 4 robots you just saw on top. And there's still going to be releasing, I'm assuming, maybe 3 more smaller robots so that they can combine into even much more of a bigger thing. So, but once again, I have zero plans on this one because one becomes the wings, the other 2 becomes in some kind of weapon, and then maybe get some extra gold trimmings, and that's pretty much it. So I have zero plans for that. So don't expect a review from me. Alright, so finally we got that out of the way, so let's see what we got. Yeah, this guy is pretty tall and huge, so my camera height is slightly different than usual. So let me just get this down a little bit and let's see what we got. So before we go on into articulation or any components, let me just do a quick size comparison. So here is next to a typical 1:144 scale HD Gunpla kit. You can see how big it is, so you could definitely tell that this is going to be much bigger than a typical mass grade 1:100 scale kit as well. So let's keep that in mind. And the good thing is that because this is considered a toy for kids, it is very well made and very sturdy. So you don't need to worry about anything breaking. Unlike hobby grade like high-end figures, while they are well made and they do use die-cast metal, that doesn't mean they're not breakable. They're still easy to break in certain areas. This guy is on the very sturdy in very areas, so you don't need to worry about like you dropped it, oh no, something's gonna break. You don't need to worry about that. And once again, while you're watching this review, I would like to also mention that keep in mind, this is not a hobby grade item. This is not meant for like huge collectors or high-end collectors. This is something for like the mass, for kids to play around with. So there is going to be some places articulation that's not going to be existing, but over the past few years, for those who are like in the same age range as me, who's grew up with like the old like DX toys, like DX Might Guy and DX Gal Gaigar kits, or anything like that, the old good like old school toys will definitely appreciate this, because this thing has almost every articulation that the past toys in the 80s and 90s don't have. All right, so let's start the review right away. So let's talk about components. So once you get the actual toy out of the box, this is what you should be getting. So obviously the main mech, Rex Kaiser itself. Oh, and also regarding the names, there is no official English name as far as I know, so I am going based on the Korean pronunciation into English. So, and because their names are like Rex Kaiser, Frozen Tiger, Mag Kilo, Burning Kara, Thunder Tira, that's exactly the way how they're like called in Korean. So in the pronunciation. So yeah, that's what I'm following. So once you get the main thing out of the box, here is the rest of the stuff that you should be getting, including a instruction manual. So the instruction manual will show you guys how to transform this into a robot. So it will show you how to transform from robot to dinosaur mode as well. And then I believe that's pretty much it. Or let me just give it a quick check, because pretty much it's the reverse. So it does show both ways. So robot to dinosaur and dinosaur to robot as well. And basically how to equip the weapons. So that is pretty much it in the instruction manual. So other than that, you should be getting these two things, which are technically blasters. These are two long-range weapons. You can extend these, and then I believe, yeah, this is the handle, and this can become a gun. So you can dual-wield guns as well. And technically, on the mech itself, you actually need to pull these two things out, and then these will attach on the back of the shoulder as well. And then you should be getting another weapon, which is the sword. Very, very a pretty big sword and wide. Doesn't look as sharp, which is once again meant for safety. And yeah, it looks pretty cool as well. There's no opening, extending, or folding parts as well. So once again, very sturdy. And then once again, I'll be reviewing the small ones, because the small ones become upgrade parts for this guy. So I wanted to actually review this guy first, so that when I'm reviewing them, I can actually show you guys the example of how they combine with this guy. But anyway, whenever you buy one of those small ones or this guy, you will be getting one of these medallions or coins or medals. So this is like the main gimmick of the series. So I wouldn't say the toy. In the toy, this is just like stands there. But once again, this guy does have a use for this one. But once again, basically the robots, they find their allies become into coins, so they can store them around and use them or call upon them when they need them. So, and then there's another batch of alien enemies that are trying to get these medals. So obviously they need to prevent that, or if they fail, then obviously the world is doomed. So that's the basis of the story. So here is the coin, and once you actually get this guy out of the box, you want to immediately, once again, get the coin, and then you can see there is a slot here. You want to plug this thing in. I believe this is the correct direction, if I remember correctly, but once again, it doesn't really matter which way you because it is supposed to fit in any direction if you want to do so. But the main reason why you want to do this is, actually, give me a moment, this is actually a pretty sturdy connection, so it's not going to fall off. It's like a clip thing. So the reason why you want to have this on is because if you don't have this on, there's this car on the back that can actually, without this blocking like this, actually, I did actually experience this. This whole part thing, the car, can actually fall off pretty easily. So they can detach. So you want to put this in place and then lock him in place. And with this, the car cannot just fall off on its own. So that's the main reason you want to put that right away. Alright, so before we go into articulation, I'll show you guys an example. So you want to get this part out, and then here make sure the red side is actually pointing outwards, and then there should be like a slot here that you can connect this in. So this one just slides in. It's not exactly a clipping point, so there is a chance that it can fall out, but once again, it's not as loose as you think. And obviously this thing is connected to a ball joint, so you do have a little bit of free range of movement on how to move it as well. So let me just do that again. So take the other side of the handle and then plug it in. Yeah, it's always difficult to do in camera, and there we go. We have it connected. All right, so let's see what we got here. So let's start with the head. Now, I actually did receive this about a few days ago, so I've been posting a few pictures of this, you know, on Facebook and on the YouTube's community page. So yeah. So here we have the head. Definitely very cool looking head. Of course, it does. As far as I know, the toy definitely follows every gimmick from the show. So yeah, I think they really got the details correctly. Now here is the base head. Definitely looking cool. Definitely well designed. Doesn't look too childish or too cheesy, because like a lot of like robot animations in Korea or in general, they try to be more non-violent, friendly, educational. So they try to go with a more, how should I say, more friendly look instead of this the more typical Gundam-esque or mecha-esque look that we usually see in other countries, like in Japan or in other countries. So yeah, definitely looking cool. Okay, the head can go down and up and then rotate a little bit because it's on a ball joint. You can technically go 360 if you know your way around. So once again, that's already a huge improvement, because back then in the toys, there would be a lot of heads that couldn't even spin or even go up and down. The best you would get is maybe a rotation. Now there is a horn here, but as far as I know, this is supposed to be like this. This is only meant for like a specific form, which I don't think in this TV series it has popped out yet. Alright, so that's that. And once again, we also have the Rex head. Even in this form, you can open its mouth, so pretty cool if you ask me. And once again, everything you can see, there is no stickers on this kit, on this product. I would like to mention, because even back in the old DX toys, there will be a lot of cases where you actually need to apply stickers. In this case, no stickers is required. So everything is either painted or a part separated, as far as I can tell. Alright, so now let's go with the, let's see, actually let's go with the body a little bit. So let's go down. So in this format, you can actually rotate the body like this, and it's all in the ratchet joints. Hopefully you can hear that. Yeah, hopefully you can hear that, and you do have a little bit of ab crunch going on here. So once again, huge improvements. Something that the old DX toys would either not have or not be capable of doing. So very impressive. And then the arms itself, now, actually, sorry about that. So the arms, no butterfly joint, but technically you do have this. So let me just take this one off. For example, you do have this instead of a butterfly joint. You can go backwards. Now this is for the transformation to the Dinosaur mode, and B, this is for the combination mode. So combining with other units as well. So there's that. And then rotation on the arm 360 is possible. Ratchet joint as well. Going to the side 90 degrees as possible, and then rotation on the arm itself is possible. Once again, ratchet joints, and then bending the arm more than 90 degrees, or more than 90 degrees possible. No ratchet joint as well, but still there's still a little bit of like a click here, so it's not gonna get loose in that easily. And then you have the hands here. Now the thumb does not move as far as I can tell. I've been testing out. But each finger can move, but not to the point where like a master grade. So it's only the grip. So it's like moving like this. So hopefully that gives you the idea. So the joints of the fingers don't move. You just get the overall typical grabbing hand action. And in the hand there is a huge, gigantic peg for the weapons. Once again, the only articulation at this point that's missing is the wrist joint. But once again, there's no wrist swivel. But for what this is enough for me, if you ask me. Alright, now let's look at the waist section here. So here oddly enough, we do have some front skirts that can go only upwards, because they're on on a specific joint here, metal pin joints. And that's pretty much it. And then for the legs here, the legs because of this claw, it's kind of tricky, but you can move the claw just a little bit and go about almost 90 degrees to the front. and there's no back skirt, so back not so much 90 degrees because the sides are a little bit on the thick side, so they are colliding at the moment on the back section. And then going to the side, about less than 90 degrees as possible. But once again, for what this is, I'm going to repeat myself over and over and over again. Compared to the old toys back in the 80s and 90s, this is a huge big step up. So once again, very impressed. And you can see on the sides here, there's actually a hole here. The main purpose for this hole, at least based on the instruction manual, okay, is that you have the sword, and you can basically plug into the sword to the side of the side. Now usually you would have like waist armor, but once again, since there is no waist armor onto the side, this is the best you can get. So pretty cool if you ask me. Okay, let me just get that out. And then now it may look like it doesn't have a side swivel, but the side swivel is not here. It's actually on the lower section. So side swivel does exist. Ooh, and hopefully you can hear that. Ratchet joints. So yeah, 360 is gonna be very tricky to move, but yeah, you can go. It definitely has a side swivel, and then bend wise, about a 90-degree bend on the leg, and then the feet. Now once again, this is one of the main reasons I actually got this. It has a ratchet pivot joint. Once again, a lot of the kid toys these days, they don't put in the ratchet. There's no joint here. They would usually just make the feet like in an angled feet in general, so they don't need to put that in. This one has that, and rotation is possible, but mostly for the transformation. And we do have a little bit of a movement, forward and backward movement here as well. And there's this back part, mostly for the transformation. But still, you can consider that articulation if you want to do so. Alright, so once again, I am still amazed and having so much fun with this product as well. I definitely feel like I'm back in my old younger days. So yeah, I can definitely tell this would make any kid that gets this as a present is gonna enjoy themselves as well. So yeah, this is just mind-blowingly well made. Alright, so before we go into the dinosaur mode, let's do a quick demonstration with the weapons, and then we'll go to the dinosaur mode. So I'll be right back with the weapon demonstrations. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the demonstrations of both weapons here. So once again, here we have the blaster and the sword together. Once again, because there's two blasters, if you want to dual wield, you can technically do that. And once again, very impressive. Like, this huge thing can actually stand on its own and can pull off really cool dynamic poses, if you ask me. So that is something that the old past toys could not do. I would like to mention a few things, like the back, like 80s, 90s toys. They didn't care about articulation. They didn't care about how design it was. All they wanted was that it was sturdy, A, and B, it would have the minimum design look to make it at least look like from the TV show, and that was pretty much it. But now we are in a different era, an age where we can now replicate pretty much almost every detail from the show. So once again, very impressive. Of course, there's the fact that maybe they made the toy first and then put that in the show, but that really depends on the situation. So yeah, you can really do this as well. Now, plugging the weapons into the hands are pretty easily well done, because once again, as I showed you, there are those gigantic pegs that is in the hand. So let me just show you guys that once more. So you want to definitely open up the hands as much as what you want to. And then you can see there is a huge gigantic peg and huge gigantic hole. You want to plug them in all the way through, so make sure it's not partially going in. So getting it fully in might be tricky, but once you have it in, you can just close in the hands and you're good to go. There we go. So because it's just a really sturdy connection, it doesn't really matter whether you close the hands or not, but once you want to get the right look in terms of holding a gun as well. Same goes for the sword, pretty much same principle as well. Now, some might actually get in the way, but once you get used to it, you get used to it. So yeah. So once again, if you want to go dual wielding, you can do that as well. If you're going to dual wield the guns, obviously the sword will have to be stored in there. Alright, so that is pretty much it for the weapon demonstration. So before we go to the dinosaur mode, there's a few things or a few details I wanted to show. So number one, So obviously for dinosaur mode, you have to fold the arm backwards to do something. But once again, for combining with other stuff, you can see there's like a small connecting point here. That's not the thing you use. You actually, this was pretty cool that I wasn't aware of. You actually need to rotate. Oh, that's a bit stiff. Here's a rotate and you get this part. So the way how the combine works is like you don't actually plug it to the side. It slides in and locks it into place. So that is pretty a genius way on like securing stuff and combining way as well, because so far, based on the stuff I've bought so far, I haven't actually seen anything like this. So once again, very impressed. Yes, I know the previous like Miniforce that was based on police cars and rescue stuff had this gimmick, but at the time I did not buy any of those, didn't really care for that. So yeah. And then once again, this is kind of like a helmet. So, and I don't think in the TV show they don't actually show this, but oh, oops. Yeah, well, I kind of forced my way through there, but you can actually plug out the helmet and reveal another face, which is kind of interesting. And I don't think it, or at least based on the stuff I've seen so far, we don't actually see that face very often. So, yeah, or maybe we'll eventually get to see that. Anyway, so once again, we finished the weapons, so I think it's time for the dinosaur mode. Now, I'm not going to show you guys the process because I think Gundam Holic did a really good job on that part, and once again, I'm not the best person to show the transformation process. So I'll be right back with the dinosaur mode. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the transformation. Now, transformation isn't as difficult as you think. It's just overall, you know, folding the legs in certain ways, opening up a few parts, and then, you know, putting all the weapons at the back to make the tail. So not too complicated, so you can technically memorize, but once again, knowing myself, I don't think I wanted to show me doing the whole process in camera. Alright, so once you've actually finished the whole, you know, transforming into the dinosaur mode, here you're going to have two components. One is the dinosaur itself, Rex Kaiser himself in dino mode, and this car. So the way how, so obviously in the show, he shows up, and then when he needs to transform, this also just, he kind of summons it and then combine them into himself and becomes Rex Kaiser in this mech mode. So yeah, so this car is called the Machine Dino car, based on the Korean pronunciation. So once again, pretty cool design. I do like the overall piece aesthetics in the front. And overall, the paint looks pretty clean as well. Doesn't look too sloppy. Doesn't look too cheap like the old Chinese toys as well. So yeah, just to give you guys out on the size of the car. I'm not talking about scale. There's no scale in this thing. So here is the comparison with a 1/164 scale Hot Wheels typical car as well. This is the, I believe, Hotbird. Was it called? Yeah, Hotbird. So yeah, based on the Pontiac Firebird. So once again, definitely much bigger and wider than a typical Hot Wheels car. So just to give you guys a general idea on size. And then once again, wheels do roll. Nothing too special there. You can see all the small details. Here's where the head is supposed to be. It rotates as well. And you might be wondering where the helmet went. So the helmet actually, so there is a little bit of parts forming as expected for a kid's toy. It actually goes inside the head of the dinosaur. So you can see this part, a very familiar looking part is in here. Kind of difficult to take out in front of the camera, but yeah, here is the helmet. The way how the helmet works is that, yeah, here's the face plate. You fold it inwards and then just slot it in the dino head, and that's pretty cool. Alright, now let's get the main dinosaur itself. So articulation itself doesn't change as much as you think, especially since the legs are still there. It's just a difference where they actually rotated the front part to make the feet here. So yeah, in terms of articulation, it's still the same. But once again, keep in mind when you transform into the dino mode, you can see this joint is now facing outwards. When it's in robot mode or mech mode, it's actually facing downward. So you do need to spread open the legs in order to become the dinosaur mode. So yeah, let's start with the head as usual. Definitely handsome looking head if you ask me. I believe some parts are slightly painted. I think the eyes might be painted to some degree, but once again, yeah, overall very sturdy plastic, and once again you do have the screws there, but on one side and on the other side less. But once again, and then you can open the mouse all the way up, very well done, and you can see there is actually a blaster weapon inside there. This is actually a move that he does use in the series. Yeah, so keep in mind this is actually his own sentient being, so he does actually talk on his own. He does talk, communicate with the Miniforce warriors, and when he's not in this mode, he does transform into a small critter himself, like a small green, you know, dinosaur character as well. So yeah. So the head can go downwards, even in dinosaur mode, upwards as well, and then even a side-to-side movement, and even rotation does exist. So very, very well done. And because this is a dinosaur mode or a T-Rex style design, obviously you gotta have this short, stubby hands. The thing itself is on a ball joint, so you can move it side to side, up and down. Rotation is a little bit there, and then you do have even the arms are articulated, so you can see you can go ouch. Go forward and then bend about. Now I don't know why, but these joints are very stiff on mine, about 90 degrees, and the claws can move up and down as well. So in yeah, you can definitely tell how stiff this thing is. So in robot mode, it would be claws would be like folded up like this, if I remember correctly. So yeah. Doesn't I mean it does, they do a pretty good job hiding, but once you actually start seeing it, yeah, it doesn't go away that easily. And here's the part that I just mentioned, that you can rotate these parts to become the combining form thing. And then the legs, no changes at all in terms of you still have the side swivel going to the side, less than 90 degrees is still there, and then moving the leg forward and backward is still there. It's just a matter of, are you satisfied with the stance, or do you need to like change the stance or angle of the leg? Because you want to make it look like a dinosaur, so obviously you want to like have a change in angles in certain places so that, you know, it looks more natural. Because obviously it's not going to be standing straight up with the legs all the way opened up. So yeah. And then the feet here, once again, you basically rotate the feet backwards, and so the feet is now backwards, and you have these dinosaur feet, which does move a little bit odd, but once again, you do have a front ball joint as well, and then you have this part that can fold downwards and upwards as well. So this part I'm still trying to get used to how to control the articulation on these things and how to balance the whole thing here, because I'm still getting a little bit of those wobbly issues, but mostly I think it's just matching the angles and location of each leg. So then once you have it, you should be good to go. And keep in mind, there's actually, the metal is still in there, so you can actually, you're supposed to transform this with the metal inside, but once again, the metal itself does not affect the transformation, so you can transform it without the metal as well. So just want to point that out. And here is pretty what I consider pretty cool. You basically combine the two blasters like this onto the back of the arm, and then between them you plug in the sword using those giant pegs inside, and you form the tail. So I think they did a pretty good job. Of course, because of this aspect, there's no tail wagging movement as well. Maybe this, but that is pretty much it. So yeah. And once again, that does not affect my judgment on this toy. This is an amazing toy as well. So anybody who grew up in the 80s, 90s with the old DX toys released by usually Bandai or other toy companies, yeah, do give this a try. I think you're gonna feel like you're gonna be very impressed with how far we've come in terms of the toy technology as well. But once again, I cannot help you on where to get this if you're not living in Korea. I have zero clue, like, if the company that made this is going to be exporting to other countries. I have zero clue. So if you have a Korean friend or someone you know in Korea, you might want to ask them as well, so to get you this. But keep in mind, the box is pretty big, so expect a bit of a shipping fee as well. Anyway, this was the review of the Miniforce Rex Kaiser. Once again, do try to figure out how to get this, but for now I have zero clue whether it's on Amazon or AliExpress. I don't know, so I'm sorry about that. But once again, if you guys got any questions or requests, in comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. And basically from here, the next 4 reviews or 5 reviews, depending on how you look at it, you can expect the review of these 4 smaller units and their combinations as well. Until then, see you guys next time.